I'm Dave Rosgen, the wildlife biologist for White Memorial. Welcome to Ongley Pond, one of many on this property. It is mostly man-made, having been dug out in the 1960s. It gets water overland whenever it rains, coming across the lawns. That's why it's full of nutrients and is nice and green with algae and all sorts of other plants. And in major flooding events, Bantam Lake backflows into Ongley Pond through a channel that would normally go out of the pond into the lake. And that's why it not only has pond animals living in it, it also has lake animals. We will check for animals and plants by scooping with a net at times, and we often have public programs down here, especially for birthday parties, which are very popular, and school groups, and sometimes camp groups now during the summertime, where the kids get a net and you scoop, and we see what we can find. We put the things in basins of water so you can look at them wiggling around. Many of the plants are green algae, but they're intermingled with things like Eurasian water milfoil, which is a non-native and invasive weed. It's amazing how small some of these animals are. This is a pond snail. A lot of people don't understand that dragonflies, and actually many other insects, start out in the water. The female lays eggs. They hatch out in these little nymphs, as you can see. A nymph will develop over the course of a few months, usually, into an adult, transforming inside its skin, and then it will climb up on the shoreline and pop out of that skin and fly away. This is a baby bullfrog tadpole, and the eggs can be laid anytime during the late spring or throughout the summer. The eggs, when they hatch, turn into these itty-bitty tadpoles that take 2 to 3 years to develop, and then turn into an actual frog. This is a little green frog. There's a line going down each side of his back from his eye to his back end. Bullfrogs are all smooth on top. You can see he also has quite a green nose. I'll bet this guy is probably about 3 years old. So he probably was a tadpole last year. This is a nice full-size crayfish. Usually we find baby ones in this pond, not full-size adults. And James Fisher from our staff is in the process now of inventorying crayfish on White Memorial property. This is one of the snails that is found typically in a lake environment, not a pond. And so it probably washed back in here during one of the floods. This is a different crayfish, and I suspect the same species, but this way you can see full size and walking on my hand, whereas the other one, of course, I was holding on too tight and all he wanted to do was pinch. This guy is pretty content here now, just walking across my hands, and so as you can see, he's not trying to pinch me. Tadpole. Oh. This tadpole looks somewhat like the other one, but it isn't. It has a pink belly and more of a dorsal fin on its tail. That means it is a gray tree frog tadpole, whereas the bullfrog tadpole doesn't have as much of a fin. He's spotted all over and he has more of a whitish belly. Here is a dragonfly nymph that is green. The other one was a gray coloration. And as I look beyond, I see our little green frog coming back, who probably would eat this dragonfly if I put it in front of him. This insect is called a water scorpion. This is an adult. He has a needle for a mouth part, and he uses that, and it's in between the eyes below those grabbers. He'll grab a hold of some other insect with those and then stick the needle in and suck their blood out. much. Oh, whoop, here's a damselfly. Damselflies are like dragonflies, but much skinnier, and they hold the wings over the back instead of out to the sides the way a dragonfly does. This type of snail is more at the edges of the pond and will go up onto vegetation, and when it's in the pond it's usually on top of floating vegetation. But he can stand to be wet or almost dry. You see his little antennae are out here right now as he's moving along, trying to decide what my finger is and looking to be able to vacuum up anything that he can find that is either dead or plant material.